Someone let me know if the sound works. The last time it didn't. So, anyway, welcome to the White Rabbit YouTube channel. Very first live episode. So, I prepared some things to talk about until people arrive to ask me some questions. So, somebody asked me if I would have any on location episodes. So, I have already filmed three on location videos. The first one is in Thailand, is the Yaksha warrior giant entities, which are real. And then I recently went to Europe, where I went to the largest pyramid in the world. It's not completely recognized, but it's definitely a real pyramid. The Bosnian Pyramid of the There are actually 5 pyramids in the Bosnia area. There's the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon, the Dragon, Love, and another one. Yeah, it's too small, I can't see. And then also, I went to Austria to do a video on the Spear of Destiny, which is the spear that pierced the side of Jesus and then became a holy relic. Whoever holds this spear in battle cannot lose. So Pope Leo III gave the spear to Charlemagne, who went on to win 47 battles in 25 years. And he never lost until he dropped the spear, and then he died the next day. There's one person watching. I hope you can ask me a question or at least confirm that you can hear my sound. All right. Up next, someone asked me if I've ever seen a UFO. I don't think I have. No, only online. Haha. And here's another question here. Where would you most like to go for an on-location video episode? Well, I would love. I made a list. All right. So, if I could go and support myself with YouTube, and then I would definitely go and around the world to make on-location videos. I would love to go to Alaska to cover HARP and the triangle and the pyramid and the disappearances. I've actually been to Alaska before, but I wasn't a conspiracy theorist then. Next up is Hawaii. Hawaii is part of the ancient continent of Mu and has some surviving structures like megaliths. And there's a supposed secret tetrahedron pyramid on the island of Kauai, which I would love to check out. Up next is Nova Scotia and Cape Breton. Well, you'll see in a future video that I have about Canada. One of my future episodes is introducing 20 different conspiracy theories in Canada. And one of them is how the ancient Chinese that circumnavigated the globe 50 years before Columbus, they had a settlement on Cape Breton Island. And I read a book about it as well. And there are stone structures that you can check out. So I would definitely love to go there and make a video. Next one is Samoa. Samoa is also part of the ancient continent of Mu. And it has a pyramid. And it's completely abandoned. It's just in the jungle forest, not far from the nearby village, but there's no roads or trails. So you have to go with a local. That's what I would do. And that's what I would love to do. Anyhow, the Solomon Islands. The Solomon Islands has so many good conspiracies. There's giants and monsters and inner earth tunnel. And if I look back at the map, there's one more. Aliens. Yeah, they've got a lot of alien sightings. Anyway, Palau. Palau has a lot of stuff. It has pyramid, megaliths, stories of giants, and it's very close, so I could go there. South Africa, Table Mountain is apparently an alien transfer base, and some people have seen the aliens. I mean, the spaceships just going directly into the mountain, pretty similar to Mount Shasta. There must be some kind of field there. Peru has all kinds of stuff along with Bolivia. Lake Titicaca and of course Machu Picchu, but there's a lot of other things that are around that area that are lesser known, but just as interesting or even more because people don't know about them. But I cannot properly pronounce those places just yet. Anyhow, Bermuda has the Bimini Road, which is an underwater mm, road. It's not a road, but people think it's a road. Anyway, it's on the Piri Reis map, which is from basically it was discovered in Istanbul or Constantinople, and it was a collaboration of several maps put together, and it shows Antarctica without ice. And the map was made in the 1500s from a compilation of much older maps that do no longer exist. Anyhow, Egypt has a lot of stuff. They has pyramids, and they have this. I mentioned in one of my videos that you haven't seen yet is there's a pool. Basically, the water stays at the same temperature, not temperature. The water stays at the same water level despite droughts and floods. It's just amazing engineering. It's exactly the same as uh, on Sigiriya in Sri Lanka. They have the pool of water on the top of the lion's rock, but it's not a lion. But anyway, the pool of water stays at the same level no matter the circumstances outside. Anyway, I've got a full video on the Sri Lanka one. Next up is England. England has a lot of stuff. It has, well, let me see. I have this purposely made just England map of conspiracies. So this is High Brazil, and this is Doggerland, sunken continents. And then here is the alien, because there's a place, it's called like Rother or something. Anyway, of course, this is Stonehenge, and then this is a portal, and then this is Harp, and here's the radioactive site that you have to avoid going to. This is, I think, Rosalind Church. They have a, basically, it's kind of like Tartarian style where they have the organs and all the intricate carvings and the windows with the stained glass windows, but the stained glass should be taken out so they can absorb the frequencies, etc. But anyway, there is a portal when you play the organ, a certain song or something, then and it has to be the right time of the year and a bunch of other circumstances. But apparently, this one corner will shimmer, and some people think it's a portal. So why not? This is the Loch Ness Monster, and this is a different monster that I have in my records. And these are the Giants of Ireland. So that's it for England. But if I was to go to England, I'd be most interested in going to see the Loch Ness Monster and Stonehenge, the classics, of course. Of course, they also have the Glastonbury Inner Earth Tunnel, which definitely would like to take a stroll around there. Iceland has giants and fairies and a pyramid that most people don't know about. All right, next up is Malta. Malta has several megaliths that defy modern understanding. Guatemala has more, not secret pyramids, they're not secret anymore, but they're not well known. And if you go to the edge of the forest, you can hike for 2 days to get to the pyramid that is kind of like being excavated, but it's still at the beginning stages. So it's still very overgrown. They don't really know what they're going to find, except for they have the LiDAR image technology. That's how they found it. The Falkland Islands. The Falkland Islands is, of course, it's a interesting historical place, but I have heard of it was very early in my conspiracy theory days. Basically, the most southerly island of the Falkland Islands is called the Island of Giants, and then basically it's a no-go zone. It's a military place that you're not allowed going to because they're covering something up. But I saw something from a fisherman with like binoculars and a camera, a zoom camera, something like that. And apparently the whole it's kind of like the Dover Cliffs in England. They're all white, but they've been carved, and then they've been carved with immense statues of what seems like giants and strange things. So I'd love to do the same thing. Just get on a boat, get some binoculars, and see if I can see the same thing or not. Anyhow, Nigeria. Nigeria has some megalithic. It's kind of like a mountain made of the basalt rock that you find in the Giant's Causeway. But it's very abnormal that to be right in the middle of the land, and it's not very well known, or it's not a big tourist destination either, which is what I like. India, of course, India is like the birthplace, one of the birthplaces of civilization. It's not the real one, but it has like such ancient structures, and people don't know how it was made. And they have like these rooms that if you go in, they're booby traps, and they have other temples that like are flooded like 99% of the year, and they unflood it 1 day per year. But it's apparently another portal place. A lot of interesting things in India. Vietnam has the Sandong Cave, which is another entrance to the inner earth with the lizard people, and that it would definitely be doable. Lebanon, of course, Lebanon has Baalbek and the giant triathlon. It's called a triath, giant stone. Oh, let me get. This is the giant stone in Lebanon. Oh, actually, it's not. Sorry about that. That's not right. I don't have that one up right now. Okay, sorry. Vatican City. Vatican City has a lot of conspiracies where there's a chronovisor, which I mentioned in my very first video, but it's more about going to see the statue of Longinus, which was the guy that speared Jesus and became a saint later on, and a lot of other stuff that I'd have to look into before going. But there's a lot of interesting things there. Of course, if I could get into the secret archives, you might not see me again. Ha ha ha. That's an awesome map. How long did it take you to make? Oh God, that took a long time to make. Basically, I I started working on it several years ago, but it wasn't like it was more like a passion project. Working on it a few weeks a year. It wasn't until last February that I decided I wanted to become a conspiracy theorist YouTuber, and I had to get myself in gear to finish the map. And I'd say it took at least 3 years, but I started it 5 years ago, but I was only working on it a few weeks per year until I decided I have to get this done and do something with it. So, yeah. All right. No more questions right now. The Canary Islands. The Canary Islands are one of the conspiracy theory locations of Atlantis. With it's basically like the same as Mu. It's uh, the water raised and the continent sunk, and so the only parts that are left are the very high mountaintops, same like the continent of Mu. And I'd be very interested in going there. You could like there's underwater pyramids and other things. What about the second Mel's Hole? Aha. So in the first episode of Mel's Hole, I mentioned that there is a second hole in Nevada, and I didn't go into the details because I didn't want the story to get too long. But if people are interested, I could make a second video, part two. But anyway, the Basque are from The Basque are from here, and then in the 1800s they went to Nevada to raise sheep. And as for the whole time they've been there, there was this hole on the property. It's like public land, but the Basque used the land to sheep herd. And they knew the hole was there, and it was there. It's been there as long as anyone can remember. Uh, So they contacted Mel after Mel contacted Art Bell on the Coast to Coast AM radio show, and when he lost access to his own hole, and they asked him to help them investigate. So he went out there, and they, of course, had to check that he's not like CIA, FBI, or something like that. And of course, he wasn't. And then the one of the first tests they did is they had two buckets of ice, and they had one bucket of ice on the surface as like a test, or just to see how whenever the bucket of ice on the surface was completely melted, that's when they would bring up the other one. So they put one down into the hole and one stayed on the surface. And then when the bowl bucket of ice on the surface had completely melted, they raised up the the ice, but it had not melted at all, and it was warm to the touch. And so that was weird. So they thought, well, what else should we put down in the hole? So, being the Basque, they have a lot of sheep, so they put a sheep in a crate and edged it up to the hole, and the sheep did not want to go in the hole. But of course, it's in a crate, so what can it do? It went down in the hole. I think they waited for 30 minutes, and then they brought it up, and of course, assumingly the sheep was dead, but there was something moving around inside. Someone said, "What would you put in the hole?" But let me finish the second story. So inside the sheep was some kind. So they had to like butcher the sheep to see what was inside, because something was moving around, even though it was dead. And they look, it's resembled like a seal fetus, but a baby seal, and it had the eyes of a human and was looking at them. And it stuck around for a while, and then it jumped back down the hole. There's a lot more with the second hole, but let's go into the second story, third question here. What would you put in the hole? Uh well, if ice becomes hot and animals die and come back with a different kind of living thing inside of them, I I've never thought about it. I guess I would put down a camera, bright lights, and recording devices, and see what see how that goes. Uh, let's see. So I assume the sound is okay. Nobody said anything about that, but I guess if you're asking questions and not saying no sound, it must be fine. Uh, if you want to know more about Mel's Hole, let me know in the comments, and I can continue the story, or I'll continue telling you about different places around the world that I would like to do a on location episode for. I've got a few more. Mauritania, of course, that is my number one spot where I think Atlantis would be. They have the Eye of the Sahara. Uh, and yeah, I mentioned it in my first video how it's one of the possible locations for Atlantis, and then the Atlas Mountains are to the north, and there's a lot of supposed proof that it could be the ideal location for Atlantis, but I would have to research this one thoroughly before being able to explain it properly. There's something about waves in the sand, and there's a volcano that erupted, and the supposed tsunami of water would have covered it. Do you want to hear different stories? From who? From you? Sure. Unigami is the closest island to Taiwan, and there is a megalithic, uh, seemingly like a ziggurat in Iraq, but it's under the water, 25 feet 25 meters. I can't remember, under the water. And if you're a very good scuba diver, you can definitely check it out. I plan to go there myself with my expert scuba diver friend to for him to video that site so that I can use it in a future video. And I plan to use the kind of like a drone, but it's for underwater at the same time. I do not know how to scuba dive. I would love to learn, but the currents in that location are one of the worst places in the world, so it's not a good place for a beginner. So maybe next time. Turkey, of course, Turkey has Göbekli Tepe, and there's another site. I can't remember the name, but it's maybe 50 kilometers from Göbekli Tepe, and it's even older than Göbekli Tepe. And there's a lot of new information coming out of that area right now. Anyway, that's tourist site, easy to go to. Yep, sure. Of course, the USA has a lot of conspiracy theory locations, like I previously mentioned, Alaska and Hawaii. But there is a plethora of places, including the Grand Canyon with Egyptian hieroglyphs and portals, and lots of triangles in Area 51. Lots of things to see there. All right. Somebody asked me what are the future episodes that I have lined up for this channel. So the very next episode that will be posted next Sunday or next Saturday, no, next Sunday. Yeah, next Sunday is Nan which is one of the capital cities of the continent of Mu, which this is Easter Island, this is Hawaii, this is Marquesas, and then if you go on to the other side, here is Fiji, Tonga, right here is Micronesia, Pompeii, which is Nan and then it goes up to all the way to Unigami and possibly even Taiwan. But that's the episode that I'm working on right now, so you'll have to wait to learn more. I was planning, basically what happened was I wanted to write the continent of Mu story, but there was so much information on Nan Madal that I decided that should just be a separate episode, and it's going to be my best one so far for sure. The continent of Mu will have to wait till later on. It's going to be my longest episode. It's going to cover from 450,000 years ago up until the present day. It's going to be amazing. After that, I've got the Falcon Lake episode, which is in Manitoba right here. It is Canada's most famous UFO incident that no one has heard of because it happened in 1967. There is actual physical proof, and it was not disproved, and it's still open for debate. Anyway, and then I mentioned a little earlier that I have an episode introducing all the conspiracy theories that I know of in Canada, and that's going to be a good one. I've got, excuse me, I've got the Yaksha warrior giant entities, which I filmed on location in Thailand. That's coming up. And then, as I mentioned, I have the Sri Lanka episode, which is basically the Ramakian story. It's very similar to the Indian epic story, but anyway, it's based on the same story, but fit Buddhist and religion and culture in Thailand, because they had the same culture but not the same area, something like that. So basically, the story starts in Thailand, and then we hear about Sika and Ravana and how Rama has to go to Sri Lanka to save his wife Sita. And there's a monkey army, there are mermaids, there's flying devices, and then the story goes into modern day Sri Lanka, which is like I mentioned, the Sigiriya, which is in modern days called Lion's Rock, but it should not be called Lion's Rock because it's not a lion. But I go into that into the episode. And then I have the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, which is right here. I went there. I made a full episode. I went into the pyramid. I found the runic ruins, which have a very cryptic message. It's very, very interesting. And also, if you're in the tunnels and have any kind of breathing issue or health issues, it will like heal you. So if you're not feeling well, chronic pain or something, go there, hang out in the tunnels, and absorb the energy from the past. Anyhow, and then I have the Spear of Destiny, which I already introduced to you. And one of the stories I'm working on right now is about Admiral E. Byrd, which was legitimately the first guy to fly over the North and South Pole. And then conspiracy theory, if I think I just made up a word. He okay, so he was like decorated Navy admiral, well respected, well known in the hundreds, and well, up until like 1950 ish. And then, but the conspiracy part is that he went into the inner earth. Let me see, the inner earth, and there's also the inner earth. And then so he went into the inner earth, and then he had a meeting with the president of the United States to relay all the information, but they didn't want to have anything to do with it. And then they also told him that he was not allowed to speak of this ever again. So he just wrote everything in his journal and had, well, he wanted the message to get out, but he couldn't do it in his lifetime. So he wanted, anyway, what happened was his son published the book after his death, and this is the book here. So I introduced the story, I introduced the man, and then I read his story to you, and that is the one I'm working on right now, as well as the continent of Mu, which, like I mentioned, is going to be amazing. I'm not getting a lot of questions here, but of course, it's a very new channel with only 3 videos, so what can you expect? I do have a few questions that people sent me in advance. Let me see. Are some topics unsafe to talk about? Yes, that's not a very uh, well. Giants know when they're being talked about, and you don't want to be on their radar. So, but I don't think there are any giants where I'm living. But and apparently, the only way to kill them is with copper. But I know that the Afghanistan, the American soldiers, they use guns and that work too. What are your thoughts about UFOs being man-made? Oh, definitely. That's in the Operation High Jump story when basically Admiral E. Byrd. Oh, well, it's kind of like a, what's that called? Anyway, when you like watch a movie and you don't want to tell people what it is because they haven't seen it yet. I can't remember the name. Anyway, uh, so this is Europe. At the end of World War II, a lot of the SS elite escaped to South America, and but not all of them were like, of course, they're disappeared in the jungle or they're living in new families, new identities, etc. But there were a lot of missing U-boats that the Americans, spoiler, yes, a spoiler for my upcoming episode. Thank you, Paul Wang. So the missing submarines, U-boats, ended up in New-Swabia, which was annexed by the Germans in 1938 before the start of World War II because they wanted to. Well, the what they said was they needed to secure the source of oil because it's essential in making margarine, which is very important in Germany. So during the war they wouldn't be able to get their oil from Norway, so they had to have their own source, and that's why they told their people, if they told anybody, that's why the backstory. Anyway, the real reason was Himmler had to find the ceremonial objects of power from around the world, such as in Norway and Tibet and Egypt, and of course the Spear of Destiny. But there was they also went to Antarctica to find the entrance to the inner Earth. Same reason they went to Tibet. Excuse me. And then they did find the entrance. They found two entrances. One was a surface entrance, and one was a submarine entrance. And they made contact with the inner Earth people, who, in exchange for them not using nuclear technology, research, etc., they would help them out. And they helped them to build, fly, everything to do about UFOs. So, like I said, with the the Germans, SS elite, they escaped to Brazil, Argentina, etc., and then some of them went to Antarctica because there's an underground base, and inner Earth people gave them 3 islands in the inner Earth, and of course everything in inner Earth is amazing, and you can live for hundreds of years because there's no radiation from our sun. They have a separate sun, but it's not as strong. And if you're down there, you're not getting the radiation from our sun, and you're living much longer lives. So anyway, they might even still be alive now because it was a failed attempt. So basically, the Germans made their UFOs, and then when America put together a large armada of ships, airplanes, and people, there was even an aircraft carrier. So there's an aircraft carrier, 69 other ships, 33 airplanes, 47,000 men, and they had enough provisions to last for 8 months. And their cover story was that they wanted to test out the functions of their military vehicles, etc., in polar conditions. But this is 6 months after the end of World War II. Everyone is rebuilding and recovering, and they've had tough lives already. Why would they do something like this? So I think it's a terrible cover story. But the real reason was they went down to Antarctica to rout out the last of the Nazis so that they could live with like peace of mind. But even though they had all those ships and airplanes and enough provisions to last for 8 months, the first month they just did research, reconnaissance, aerial photography, etc., and nothing happened. But then on the 6th week, the UFOs came out and shot them all up. I do have a picture of that. Oops, sorry, stuck to the wall. So anyway, this is the USS Brownstone, and then these are the UFOs. Of course, it's not a real picture, but it keeps it in your mind. Anyhow, so the UFOs shot up all the ships and the people, and then half of the armada was destroyed, and they had to limp back to South America. And then when they got back to the capital, everyone was sworn to secrecy, same like the Manhattan Project. And then now it's a conspiracy that we all love. It's my absolute favorite, and I will be making a full episode on Operation High Jump in the future. Oh, this is going pretty well. Let's see. Any more questions? What are the 2 paintings on the side? Oh, well, I introduced the England painting already. Ta-da! Again, if you're coming in late or whatever. And then the other one, oh, this is nothing to do with conspiracies. This is just artistic painting that I made for The Secret, because if you believe in good things come to you, and don't be negative, don't complain, just be happy, and good things come to you. That's basically the story of The Secret. Let's see, more questions? Not yet from you guys. Do you believe in aliens? Of course I believe in aliens. Like I mentioned in the first video, how there's good aliens and bad aliens, but definitely they're real. There's way too many. If you've read Chariot of the Gods, you'll know that it's almost impossible for aliens not to exist. but I definitely believe that they are real. And then I want to believe in a lot of other things, but I do believe in aliens. All right. Why did you get started? Oh, well, actually, what happened is I was talking to a friend of mine about conspiracy theories, and he didn't know what that was, and I introduced basically the moon. I say, do you know that some people believe that we have not been to the moon? And he's like, we've been to the moon. And basically, I'm just trying to teach him that some people believe it's not true, and some people believe that it is true, and that's what a conspiracy is. And then I wanted to just look up a conspiracy theory map of the world on Google to show him that they're much more extensive than you would assume. And there was nothing. And that's around that time I was painting, and I thought I could make a conspiracy theory map of the world. And that's how I started. But it was just like a fun personal project for myself. I didn't have any intentions, but that came later. Do you believe in aliens coming from outer space or inner Earth? I believe in both. So I think that most of the UFOs that we see are coming from the inner Earth, and people just assume that they're coming from outer space. But there are several races of aliens that come into our planet on a regular basis. Some of them are living in underground bases. Some of them are living in cooperation with humans, like in Dulce, New Mexico. Others are living like they're like the original inhabitants of our world, like the Nakals that when the global resets and catastrophes, they went to the inner world, the under or the outer continents, which are here. And then Mount Shasta is a big location for them, but it's also a portal to the inner earth, so they can go in and up and about or whatever. Are you a type of alien? Uh, well, humans are a DNA pet project of the Anunnaki. So basically, you're either a subhuman or you are a mix of Anunnaki DNA with aliens and humans to become what we are today. And one day they will come back to enslave us, to mine more gold, to send to their planet, to protect their dying atmosphere from the harsh rays of the sun. Haha. Thoughts on Project Bluebeam? Um, Project Bluebeam. I know it's about UFOs and stuff, but uh, oh, I know. Yeah, I know. This is like so basically, one day in the near future, the aliens are going to be announced in our presence, but like they're going to. It's kind of like those cities you see in the sky or those loud trumpet noises. You don't know where they come from. And basically, one of the stories is that the government would kind of point holograms into the sky, and no matter what language you speak, you would understand it because it's being like sent to your brain or something like that. And it would be like a false flag attack, a little bit, something like that, to make everybody believe in the one world government, and the one world government can take control, and we'll have less powers and rights than we do now. You think Kubrick directed the moon landing? That's a fun theory. No, I do not believe that. I want to believe that. I don't know. Basically, my channel is not about moon stuff. I'm just doing terrestrial conspiracy theories. Like there are so many things I would love to talk about. Like, is the moon hollow? It rings like a bell. Um, Dr. DNA, Dr. NASA photographs of the outer space, the moon, aliens, like um, the International Space Station cutting their live feed when aliens fly by, or did I mention the Dark Knight satellite? That's a good one. It's been flying around in our orbit for thousands of years, or how the Swahili in South Africa no, not South Africa. It's near South Africa. They have a legend about how they remember the moon coming into existence, how it wasn't there before, and then it came in and it kind of like calmed the waters and uh, stabilized our Earth. Anyhow, so basically, I'm not going to be talking about outer space stuff, at least not in the beginning, because as you can see, there are a vast amount of terrestrial conspiracy theories and inner Earth and outer continents. So I'm not. This is not going to be like an outer space one, at least not for the foreseeable beginning, because I have a lot of episodes ready to go and more ideas to go, and I'm looking forward to making them all. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. Um, let's see. Would you go to the inner Earth? Well, I would love to go to the inner Earth, but I would only want to go from the North Pole or the South Pole. The North Pole would be the easiest and safest, I assume, because the more north you go, the warmer it gets, contrary to what we are to believe. That I go into that with the Admiral Byrd story, how like the ice disappears and there are mountains and etc. Uh, oh, forgot the question. Would you go to inner Earth? So I would go from that entrance, the same entrance as the Smoky God. Uh, the Norwegians, they went up basically around Greenland and up to here. This is a good entrance. Another entrance is up here at I think it's Rapid. No, it's not called that. It's like anyway in English it's called Black Rock, which ties in with modern day stuff, which I'm not going to touch. But anyway, the problem with these entrances is that on the surface level they're guarded by Bigfoot, and Bigfoot can know if you are of true kind spirit or have ill intentions. And if you have ill intentions, then you're gonna die, or he's gonna try. But you're definitely not gonna get into the inner Earth tunnel. But if you are lucky enough to get through, like you could probably go to the Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. The entire cave system has not been fully mapped, and the voyage takes 2 weeks of hiking through the inner Earth to get through the layer. I don't know what to call that. Is the exterior layer. Actually, I could probably show you a picture in this book. Hopefully, it doesn't take very long to find it. So here we have the North Pole center of gravity. It's not very. And then here's the northern entrance where you would, if you're on a ship or on an airplane, you would just, God, you just fly around the edge right here. Sorry. And yeah, but if you were to hike through, you have to have good intentions and I guess have no plans of coming back to the surface world, because they wouldn't want you to show the pictures or, but it's not super safe either. There are a lot of dangers on the way. All right. You guys, any got more questions? I do have a few more. What is your favorite conspiracy theory? I mentioned that it's Operation High Jump, when the Americans go down to New-Swabia to rout out the last of the Germans, and they fail. That's not a good part, but it's a conspiracy. It's fun. Let's see. How many conspiracy theory places have you been to? Well, I have been to quite a few. I've been to the Taiwan Pyramid. I've been to the Yaksha warrior giant entities in Thailand, But of course, those are statues, and the entities are everywhere all the time. The Ramakian story, which I filmed the 2 kilometer long wall in the palace, the Grand Palace in Thailand, and that is allowed. The Spear of Destiny. I went to Uluru in Australia, which which is a portal to another dimension. I have been to the Great Wall of Tartaria, which is an amazing story. Basically, if you know anything about Tartaria, it was present for before the modern era, and basically old buildings were found and repurposed and made to look like they were new. And the Great Wall of China is not the Great Wall of China. It was the Great Wall of Tartaria. The Chinese just expanded it a little bit to claim it as their own, same as other cultures find, like the Romans found the Baltic rocks, not rocks, stones, and they built on top of it. It's just reusing what is already there. It's very common for temples and castles, etc. I've been to the Paris catacombs. There are a lot of conspiracies to do with the catacombs. A lot of different kinds of people that use them, but I just did the tourist thing, and that was fun. And I would love to do an episode about that in the future. I've been to Cambodia, which has Angkor Wat and all kinds of ancient treasures like sunken into the forest. It's a lot of good stories there. And then I've also been to the Forbidden City of Tartaria, which basically was half of the city was Tartarian city, half was Chinese city. And I have been to Petra in Jordan, and some people think of, anyway, I've been to Petra in Jordan, and I definitely will be making an episode about that in the future. Anybody have any questions? Let's see. Dream locations of on location episodes I would like to go to. I've got Antarctica, which is very hard to go there unless you have a very specific reason and lots of money. So that's very unlikely. Of course, you could do the tourist thing and like wear the little white booties and step onto the beach and see the post office and the British post office from the whaling station and some historic places like that, but they're not going to let you go into the interior at all. The continent of Mu, basically, that would be a very long trip because there are dozens and dozens of islands that are all encapsulated into this continent. But Tonga would be amazing because they have the triathlon stone. You'll find out in my video coming up next week about Non-Madal. I was very interested in going there until I found out that it's like one of the rainiest places in the world, with over 100 millimeters per year or something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but it's a lot. So if you go there, it's most likely going to rain, which you don't want to have when you're on vacation or filming. So anyway, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying my top favorite places would be in Mu would be Tonga, Samoa, of course Easter Island, Hawaii, and Unigami. All right. Would love to go to Mount Shasta, but a lot of disappearances in that area. I don't know if you know anything about missing 411, with all kinds of disappearances around national parks, etc., stuff like that. So that would be iffy. I don't know about that. I'm just going to show that I'm wearing the Inner Earth shirt a little bit. There you go. And then, Rapa Iti. Rapa Iti is right here. Rapa Iti is like Rapa Nui, which is Easter Island, but Rapa Iti is like much smaller. It's much farther. They only get like 6 ships that visit every year, and there's no airport. And if the closest destination is like Tahiti, but I think it's like a 1 or 2 day boat ride down there. So and they only have a boat that brings supplies every month or two. So you'd have to have a long stay unless you have a yacht, which is how most people go there. But they have a pyramid there. They have several like hilltop castles or forts that are definitely worth looking into, and the people seem super, super nice. Hyperborea, but just like the Arctic and the Antarctic, there's no fly zones. They don't want people flying over the holes in the top and bottom of the world and taking pictures. So like you just can't go there. Um, Romania is one of the entrances to the inner Earth. I didn't almost go there, but I was thinking about going there, but instead I went to Bosnia, which I do not regret. Bosnia was amazing. I highly recommend anyone going there. And if you do go there, I have an amazing taxi driver, which I will introduce in that video. All right. And Argentina, would love to go to Argentina, which also has the Falkland Islands. And then Fukushima in Japan, because I do have the radioactive symbol on my map. And that's definitely one of the places you can go and just bring a Geiger counter and stay safe. So, which one is more attractive to you, the North Pole or the South Pole? Well, the South Pole has a lot of military activity. Like they're not supposed to be military; it's supposed to be scientific. But there are like at least 50 military bases on Antarctica. Of course, there's a reason for that. Uh, they're all examining certain things, like the Russian station, Vostok station. They have like this magnetic anomaly just under the surface of the pondish. It's like a pond or something. Anyway, and then like oh, there's a really good story about how they how they recently drilled down, like I don't know how deep it was, maybe a kilometer or something like that. The Russians did, I think, and then they drilled down the ice, and then they sent some like cameras to see that, oh, there's stuff living down there, but they also supposedly found like a giant like octopus like thing that stings their prey and took a couple of their crew, but they were able to subdue it and take whatever poison comes out of it to like make KGB-ish stuff. Anyway, so definitely the North Pole would be the way to go. Um, yeah, like people have gone through the North Pole entrance accidentally because these rivers here, well, actually, this one and the last one are the same, and then two, three, four. The water is going inwards into the inner Earth, and it does reverse. But like if you're around there when the water is going in, you can't fight it. You're going to go in there, and then but it does come out. But I don't have the details about that. But it's definitely going to be a North Pole entrance for me. The best way is to do what Admiral Ebert did and just fly in. The problem with that is you'd probably get shot down by the militaries that are protecting the Arctic because they don't want you finding out stuff they don't want you to know about. But so then that only leaves by ship. But if you have a transponder in your ship, they're going to find you. So maybe a canoe. Just joking. All right. Well, there are no more questions. This has been much longer than I was intending, but I'm very happy with the way it turned out. I hope everyone enjoyed hearing my stories. If you want, I can show you the map a little bit better. So there's that way, and then there's this way. And so in the very next episode, I'm going to have the non-Madal episode. That one has giants and aliens, a flying dragon, which maybe is probably a UFO, levitating like 50-ton basalt columns through the air, making whooshing sounds. And the locals, they still have the ability to have like some magic. It's basically they can make things lighter. Anyway, it's an amazing episode, and then the following week after that, we'll have a live episode to discuss it and answer any questions anyone might have. So let me just say thank you to Rob F. This is Saleh, Paul Wang, Ray Wu for your questions. Aha, yes, thank you very much. So my signature move here is uncovering the truth, one conspiracy at a time. See you next week on the White Rabbit YouTube channel. See ya.